First, I'm going to talk about star tips. Now, a lot of you who already decorate already have some, especially with cookies. If you need a small star space, or you're adding texture or actual stars, or let's see, covering up a lot of space quickly, because there are different brands. Not all brands are the same. PME5, really small star, right? And by star, I mean it has tines on it and it looks like kind of a flower, but it will make a star with sharp points on it. Then we have a Wilton 13, similar in size, but actually the 13 is smaller than the 5. You see that? This is a 5, this is 13. This one is smaller, but it's a bigger number. So you have to be careful with your brands. Separate them in your supply would be a good idea. And then we have a Wilton 14. Now, mostly I have Wilton tips when I have star tips because I have gathered them over the years. And literally some of these are decades old because I stole them from my mom, but also bought some more. And Wilton changed their tips a little bit, retired some. So you can't get them anymore, but I'm not going to show those. So this is a 14, and this is a little bit bigger than the 13, right? And then you have an Ateco 15, which is very close to being the next size up from the Wilton 14. And then here's a Wilton 16. It's actually a little bit smaller than the Ateco or Ateco, what is it, 15. So you see that? 18, a Wilton 18, an Ateco 18, and who's this? A PME 7. Is very similarly sized. You see that? So we have the Wilton over on the right, and that is very close to the 16. That would be the next size up from a 16. Of course, I can't find it because I popped them all in a bowl. Here we go. The 16, 18, that would be your next size up. But then you have the Ateco 18 and the PME 7. They're similar in size, however, they're different numbers. So the Ateco 18 is quite a bit bigger than the Wilton 18. So it all depends on the size and the texture that you want. For which tube that you use. So we're giving you options. Now we have, I'll hold on to the Wilton 18, because next we have, here's the Wilton 18, the Wilton 21. This is a Wilton 21. That's the same. And here's an Ateco 21. Well, that's pretty much, that's fairly big compared to the 21. So I would actually compare this to the next size up, which is a Wilton 22 or more, maybe a 26. But these are open star tips. You can get closed star tips. Sometimes when you purchase your tips, you have to be careful. The tines will be closed like a flower, more closed than open. You can, there used to be a tube shaper, a tip shaper that it's just a metal, piece of metal, like one of these you could even use if you had to. These are pastry cones, croissant horns. So I use these, but you can stick these inside of your tube to open up the tines, right? If you want them closed, then you just gently squeeze them. I wouldn't recommend manipulating them a lot, but you got to do what you got to do for your project. All right, so we have Wilton 21, Ateco 21, but they're not the same. So Ateco is more open. You can get the closed star, but that's different numbers. I don't work a lot with Ateco just because I have a lot of the Wilton. That is the only reason. You choose what you prefer. You get to the open star, just check the health when you wash them or your garbage disposal eats them. Just be careful when you go to use these. If your tines are broken or missing, you want to throw out that tube, that tip. All right, and then we have a Wilton, excuse me, this is a JEM 22. I have no idea who that is, but that's even bigger. I would call this a Wilton 26 or 32. You're not even in an open star, really. You're now getting to the French tips, but that's another lesson. So these are just some samples. These are kind of too big for cookies, but it depends how the size of your cookie and the texture scale that you're going for. So try them all. They're a lot of fun. So I have a lot of tips because I need, a lot of colors, especially around the big holidays like Christmas and birthdays. I need star tips in several colors. So that's why I have several of the same tip size. But I wanted to show you the differences in the sizing, because it all depends on the scale you want, the project that you're doing. It's totally up to you. It's your art. Do you? So I'm going to be using a Wilton 21. I haven't cut the tip of the bag, so it looks weird. Wilton 21 for blue, royal blue, and then a Wilton 18, which is smaller, for the red. I'm going to show you how to color red. Now this is royal icing. You can see it's separated a little bit. It's darker here than it is on the edges. I only need a little bit, so I'm not too worried. This is plenty. And I'm going to use buttercream and royal icing for the blue. But I start with pink. If I'm mixing it from white, I start with pink. So I have a bunch of sugar art. Well, let me show you the different brands that I have of reds. Now, that doesn't even include all the pinks. So I have super red, no taste tulip red, which is really good for making a super dark red, because when you add too much food color, it starts to become bitter. It just changes the whole constitution of your icing, royal icing especially, and it just doesn't taste good. Buttercream as well, it will change it, and it's not very pleasant. So that's why I like the no taste tulip red, because it, of course, doesn't change the taste, and it won't make it bitter. So she has a whole line of these highly pigmented colors that are really nice for coloring royal icing buttercream, using straight in your airbrush. I use them for coloring dough as well, because they're super pigmented, and a little bit goes a long way. But to make red from white, I start with pink. Now, it depends on the shade that you need. This is a pretty bright pink. This is hot pink. It's more neon. Then you have sugar rose. It's still pink. And then you have red rose. To me, it's still pink, but it all depends on the batch as well. But you're getting closer to red. So when I make red, I start with pink. Get it to as deep a pink as you can. You can even use some reds, but I start with pink, especially the powder, because it won't change the consistency. Powders, and that's where you have to be careful when you're trying to get a darker color, is that you start off with powders, go to liquids or soft gels or airbrush colors that you might need to add some powdered sugar to get back to a stiff consistency. So that's why I start with powder, to get a pink as my base, because if you're using buttercream or royal icing, you do need to let your colors develop. So if you can make the hard colors like black, red, and dark, like navy, bright royal blue or dark royal blue, excuse me, or super dark green, try and make your colors the day before if you can. Let them sit and develop at room temperature. That way you're not fighting with it, and you can go ahead and start decorating when you're all set and ready to go the next day. So you could even do it a couple hours later, but I would give yourself as much time as possible. So that's why I start with a pink powder from a white, and then I adjust accordingly to the depth of red that I need. Now, super red is supposed to be really red. However, depending on your batch and how much you shake it, it doesn't necessarily go as red as you want and what we're going to do. So I'm going to add some tulip red, which is super dark, and you can add a whole bunch, because well, by a whole bunch, I mean up to a teaspoonful, because it won't change the taste. It will, because it's a liquid, change the consistency. So we might have to add powdered sugar to get it back to stiff, so that when we pipe with a textured tip, we get nice definition. So, since I already have this red, I don't need to start with the pink. So I'm going to make this, I'm going to stir this to see what we're working with, and then I'm going to add color so you can see them, to see how dark they go. How quickly they do that too. So I'm a nerd. I use color coordinated spatulas. I'm making red and I'm making blue. I don't like to stain, especially if I'm making black. I'll use the dark red one. I don't like to stain my spatulas. I don't know. You can't keep everything new forever, but the colors, the darker colors do stain. So you really have to be careful if you're particular about that. If you don't care, that's fine. I have white spatulas that are pink from coloring, so it's not a big deal. This is pretty good consistency. However, it's not as, it's got a kind of orange tint to it. I don't want that orange tint, so I'm going to add some Simi Cakes, Sydney Galpern's Candy Apple Red, because I want a brighter red. Now, we can get into color theory. That is a whole nother lesson. And I don't want to digress from showing you some different things, so I'm going to start with this to see how we go. Now, I don't claim to be perfect at colors, but it all depends, too, if your icing has been sitting a while, if you put it in the freezer and you brought it back to room temperature and you're using it, oh, I just need a tiny little bit of red. Yay, I saved it. Save all your icing colors. Just pop them in the freezer. These deli containers are great for airtight containers, or you could put them in a zip top bag, just double bag it. So that, it's still orange. Don't want that. I'm going to go to this one, which is super red. Add a squirt. Small squirt. I call that a small squirt. It's a few drops. Now this might be close, and the risk is it's going to look like blood, but not yet, because what I need to do is counterbalance that orange that's in there. And if you look at the color wheel, if you're going to, you have to be careful with the color wheel, because if you're going to do opposite of red is green, you're going to get brown. So red adding red, of course, you're going to get red. If you add yellow, you're going to get orange, of course. The primaries are red, yellow, and blue. Those are the three basic colors. You can make all colors from that. Those three combinations. It's just the ratio of each color to make different parts on the color wheel. So if I want to cancel out, if I want to make it a little darker and get a little burgundy, I'm going to add black. If I add white, I'm going to get pink. I don't want to do that, because that's where it came from. So to cancel out some of the orange, you might want to add a little bit of blue, because orange and blue are opposites on the color wheel, but you got to be careful. You could make brown if you add too much. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to stick with my reds, and it's going to be what it's going to be. But I want to show you, well, I can add a bit of blue and show you what's happening, but the risk is I'm making purple, because if I add too much blue, the red in the blue is going to make purple, and it just, yeah, it cancels out the orange, but I've just gone completely the wrong direction, because the technique I'm showing you is for a red character. So this is not too bad. It's getting a bit better. What I can see on my iPad, it's still kind of orange. So I'm going to add tulip red. I do have red powder color, and I also have paste colors. I mean, I have Christmas red, I have burgundy, I have wine, I have all kinds of colors. But for simplicity's sake, I wanted to show you some basic colors to make red. That's why I save all my colors, especially red, blue, and black, because those are the hardest to make. So I want to make sure I can at least start with that. I can always add to this, add more white. It's going to be pink, and then you start again with your reds to get it to the shade of red that you want. But that is okay. Again, it's going to develop. So by the time I stop yapping and start using it, and when I show you the final product, it's going to turn red, even when it's sitting there with the decoration on it, on the cookie. I'm going to make a cookie and a cupcake of each color. All right. It's all right. So this is now a little bit soft, softer than I started because I added some more liquid. So I need to get the powdered sugar. I'm going to add a 1/16 of a cup because there's not very much there. I don't want to make it super stiff, but I want it enough so it holds the shape of the stars. Go with me. Now, this white, adding to the red, will help make it a bit more red and not pink. Why is that? Because the ratio of the red pigment that's in here to the white powdered sugar, it doesn't typically affect and turn it pink. I mean, you could dump a whole bunch in there and yeah, you'll get pink or lighter red. This is still orangey, but I think it's pretty red on the camera, so I'm going to leave it for now. I'm going to put some into my bag. So that's pretty good for the stiffness. Excuse me. Yeah. Stiff consistency that I need. A bit stiffer than toothpaste. So I'm going to get a cup. Pop my bag in there. It has a coupler. You could put the tip right in there, but I may need to adjust it because, again, ambient conditions. You start off one way and you might need to go to a smaller tip because all of a sudden the liquid decided to wake up. That's why I use couplers and tips in my tipless bags because, number one, I don't always get a straight line with a tipless bag. There are better brands out there, like Bee's Baked Arts is really good. But I'm old school. I like the tips and the couplers. All right, just going to put an amount that makes it comfortable for my hand. No, I didn't mix that in completely. It does not matter. It will get incorporated because I'm going to mix it around in the bag. And I'm going to leave myself some in here just so that I have some to start with for my next batch. So I could use all of this, and I'm not going to use all of it in the bag. And I'll just put it back in the container when I'm done, and then throw out the bag and clean the coupler and tip. Totally up to you how you do it. I just hate adding more to the bag, so I will typically overfill my bag for the project just because it's more comfortable for my big hands to hold. So now I'm going to put this aside. Here. Always have a damp cloth. All right. Now, if you saw my other cookie decorating from Wednesday inspired wedding dress, you know that I helicopter my bag. Number one, because I'm lazy. Number two, I like centrifugal force to do some of the work for me. And it's kind of fun to spin it around. And you get a scraper. Just scrape it down. Because you don't want too much. This is a really big bag. Only because I'm trying to use up the supply because I don't like them. And I'm not double bagging it. So we're going to see if it's going to pop. But if you don't push this down to your tip, you're going to have dried icing when you tie it off with a rubber band or just tie it itself or use a clip. And that dried icing is going to fall onto your project. And you don't want that. So I twist it, have a little bit of pressure, back off a little. I'm not going to reuse this, so I'm just tying it off. Most of the time I use a rubber band. And then you just pull it up. Try not to have too much tension because it'll start squeezing out the minute you cut it. And then cut it off because it gets in the way. And you'll see I don't have any excess red icing up here so that it doesn't come out of my project. All right, now let's do blue. Because I don't want to show you yet what I'm making. So this is a bigger tip, number 21. This was Wilton 18 because I want a smaller texture on for that color. So this one is a bigger texture. That means the star is a bit more open. It's not as tight. And that will give me a wider texture. This is pretty close to the color I need for the character that I'm making in the blue. So I don't actually need to change this, but this was a couple of months even in the freezer and it developed. So this is really nice. This is pretty close. So I'm going to try and get this white in royal icing to equal this bright, deep royal blue in royal icing. So I have Chef Master Royal Blue. This is one of my favorites. Also, my favorite is Ocean Blue by Semi-Color Splash. This is another one in her line. I have a bit of black just in case. It's black powder by the Sugar Art Master Elite. And then Master Elite Sapphire Sky is one of my favorites for powder when I need really stiff because this is activated with water, but it is super pigmented as well. And then a tiny touch of Super Black Gel by Americolor, just because it's what I had in what I bought on Amazon. So it's fine. So give them a good shake. Hold the lid. This is more liquidy because it's airbrush color, and this is a powder, and this is powder. You don't have to shake those. I'm going to start off again with the powder to see what color I get, and I'm going to activate it with a liquid. I don't add water. If I know this is not going to get me to what I want, it's going to be close, but it's not going to be as deep. Sometimes you need to add black. So I'm going to use a blue airbrush or a gel blue to get a deeper blue with the powder, because the powder is activated with the liquid. I don't want to rob the liquid from the icing. This is probably going to be fairly loose. So I cheat and save a step because, again, I'm lazy. So I use the liquid blue with the powder blue to activate the powder blue in order to get a deeper color. Now, if I wanted a lighter color, then I just start off with this and spritz a tiny drop of water with it. But I know I need something pretty drastic, so I'm just going to start off with the liquid blue. All right. Again, give it a stir. This is pretty stiff. Don't go crazy when you re-whip your royal icing, because you will incorporate air, but because it's going to sit and I need to stiffen it up again some more, I'm not going too crazy with it, but I want to see what it's doing. This is pretty well incorporated. So I make a well, dip a little bit of blue into it. Now, this is gorgeous. Can you see this? It's almost like purple, but it's not. So I tap my hand. You can get a tiny little mica spoon or a little tool or a boo-boo stick. There's less is more. Use something small, but of course you have to clean it. So you could take a tiny little bit and pop it in, and then see where you are. See, this is nice, but it's not as blue as I want, because I want to get cracking right away. This is a beautiful sky blue or water blue. Again, this is royal icing, so you have to watch your consistencies. Buttercream is trickier. We'll do a lot more coloring of hard colors, especially black for buttercream. But I'm going to use buttercream on the cookies and cupcake, because I prefer buttercream on my cookies if I'm going to eat them. But for my clients, they want royal icing most of the time. Sometimes they want buttercream, so it's not too bad. So again, this is mixed with the water that's in the royal icing. However, I'm going to add a little bit of Simi's blue to activate it even further and color it even further, and you get a super nice blue. Even more rich royal blue. Sapphire blue, I don't know. I guess it's all subjective. This is nice. It's just not the color I want. I have to get that white incorporated. So I'm going to add a little bit of the royal blue to get an even deeper color. I could certainly add this ocean blue. It's thinner and super pigmented, but I don't want to introduce that much liquid into it because I have to add more powdered sugar. So I just want to show you the difference between the brands. All right, get it well incorporated unless you want a marble. That's okay too, depending on your project. And this is nice. I'm going to use the buttercream first, and then we're going to see how much it developed. The royal icing, see how much it developed while we are using the other one. So it's pretty good, so I'm going to stop there. If I wanted a less bright royal blue, I could add a touch of black, but this is really nice, so I'm going to leave it because this is going to develop pretty quickly. I'm going to put my lid on before I dump it. Actually, I want to add a touch more. Why not? Let's see what it does. So I have to be mindful, though. My star tip is more open, so if I have more loose frosting, royal icing for it, it's not going to keep its shape. So I have to be careful. This is even further blue, not by much, but it's really nice. So it's just royal blue has a touch of the purple already in it, whereas this is super blue, plain blue. This has royal blue has a touch of other colors in it to make it that bright. So this is really good. This is perfect. I'm going to leave that as it is. We're going to come back to that. Well, I'll just put some in my bag. I know I said I was only going to use the buttercream, but I have cookies, so I'll do both. Why not? And I got to get rid of that because I'm going to use this one for the buttercream. Again, I have an amount. I don't need too much. And you can also mix your colors in your bag. I am not of that philosophy because I want to test the consistency. That's just not how I do it, and that's something I have to relearn, and I'm not doing it. So I do it in a bowl. Make sure you move your chair out of the way. Don't hit it like I just did. It could break your bag. Again, triple force, spin it round. This is pretty. This is almost the same color. When it's together, it's pretty close. This is a bit deeper. But this will become more deep royal blue as it sits. So just be mindful of that. But be more mindful of your consistencies because by the time you go to use it, it could be something totally different. So I mix my colors as I go. I'm not that fast to mix all my colors first and then get started decorating if I have orders. When I have orders, I mix as I go because I might change my mind. I'm like, no, that doesn't look good. I want to do something else, which happens a lot. You just slide it down the bottom, sit down. Nope, that is not sit down. And I have to get myself a 22. So I don't have a, oh wait, it's a 21. 21. So here's my stash. This is my tip. Star 13 and 14 is in the front section. I have a lot of those. And then 16, I had a 17. I think that the garbage disposal ate it. And 18 and 21s. They're in the back. So this is my system, and I'll show you later where they sleep. And I stack them in the same number. So this is the stack 18. And that's missing off of there. 16. I may not have another 21, so I might have to. Oh, there's my 17. And then, where'd they go? I just had a bunch of, oh, they're right up there. I had them somewhere, so I'm going to add all of these. This is a Wilton 21. Pretty close to that one. Again, it's a cookie. One is a cookie, one is a cupcake. It doesn't matter. Whatever you need. Whatever you like. Again, don't cut it if you're going to spin it around because you're going to end up cleaning all of this off the floor. All right, so I have to clean that. I don't have a dirties bowl, but that's okay. Again, there's the buttercream. Now, this is cream cheese, buttercream, American buttercream. Has real cream cheese in it, so I have to get it into the fridge. And this is super loose. So I'm going to need to add some powdered sugar to it. But I don't need to add any color to it because it's already ready. Even when let's see what happens when I add, this is an 1/8 cup. It's not quite an 1/8 of a cup, but for the amount, it's a guess. Buttercream sometimes has issues with staying stiff, especially when it has cream cheese in it. In my recipe anyway, so I want to make sure I incorporate that before I decide if I want to add more powdered sugar. See if it's stiff enough. Yep. Really soft peaks because that's folding over pretty quick. So I'm going to add a little bit more because my tip is open to 21. So I've added about 3/16. Does that go right? Yeah, 3/16 of a cup. That's an eighth plus the 16th. Just over an 1/8 a cup. That's pretty good. Soft peak, but it's taking longer for it to actually almost stiff. Just depends how much you have on there. Weight plays a part too, so I'm pretty happy with that. Pop it in there. Put the lid on, get that back in the fridge. Okay. Same principle. Gonna whip it around. This has a whole lot less in it. See if that's enough. I think it is. Use this on the cupcake. Actually, I'm gonna put it on the cookie. I think it'll be enough. Because I want to show you a tip. You may already know this. If you're like me, you do not want to add more to the bag. You will squeeze your thumb right down into the tip instead of rebagging or adding more because it's always like the last cookie or cupcake that you have, 2 little spots left, and I'm just getting the most out of the bag as I can instead of adding more. But sometimes you can't avoid it. So just pop that up. Cut above where the icing color stops because I don't want little bits to come down into my project. Now I'm ready. So I have buttercream. It's a little bit different. This is already developing nicely, but that's okay. And I have cookies and cupcakes. This is chocolate, my dark chocolate, and this is, I think it's vanilla. Yeah. And these are unicorn chocolate chip cookies, white chocolate chip cookies with macadamia nuts. It's just cookies I had. Pretend these are flat sugar cookies that are cut into a shape. I want to prove that you don't have to always use sugar cookies if you're making a quick project. This is a quick, highly effective kids project that even kids could do. For those that have littles or grandkids, you can do this very easily with them, and it's something they enjoy and they get to eat it. So this is kind of fun. So I'm going to do a couple of characters, which requires eyes, cookies. I'll just use one, and another mini cookie, and then a nose. I'm going to use an orange sprinkle, or I might have to use a little bit of fondant modeling chocolate mixture. All right, so I'm making Elmo and Cookie Monster. So we need the eyes. Cookie Monster's getting the big googly eyes just because they're funnier. Elmo has a bit more reasonable eyes. So we'll pick some from there. And then Elmo's nose is going to be an orange sprinkle. That is the only color that I don't have a little, well, like a 6mm chocolate covered candy. So I'm using a sprinkle that's flat. It's actually an orange slice. And we'll see if that'll work. If not, I'm going to use a ball of modeling chocolate. Actually, I might use that anyway because I think the orange is going to have slices on it. It's going to look weird. Okay. Now I take off my, I think this is called a nut, to the coupler and the tip. Squeeze it down. Cut a bit off. Am I off camera? No. Good. And I put the tip back on. Again, this is Wilton 18. I want a less texture on Elmo, to me, Elmo has a smoother texture than Cookie Monster, but Cookie Monster is my favorite, so he's going to be a little shaggier because he's a hot mess. So we can do the cupcake so you can see it. And unceremoniously, oh, this is royal icing. Yeah, that's fine. I do royal icing on cupcakes too. So how you do it is squeeze, pull up. Squeeze, stop squeezing, pull up. And that will give you a point, but you can knock it down easily with a little bit of powdered sugar on your finger, or stop squeezing before you pull up and you'll get less of a point. Squeeze, stop squeezing, pull up. And then this is just a random pattern. There is no rhyme or reason. I just want fairly even, oh, you can't see that. My hand's covering it. I have to turn it sideways. Fairly even sized stars. But again, Elmo's kind of a hot mess too, so he's not that even either. If he has this couple of stray hairs, that's fine too. Squeeze, stop squeezing, pull up. Squeeze, stop squeezing, pull up. And continue in some configuration. Again, we're just covering the surface because this is a cupcake. Ignore that it's royal icing. Pretend it's buttercream. My daughter doesn't care. She'll eat anything. Like me. Almost anything. Yeah, she doesn't like potatoes too much. And then turn it around so it's comfortable for you. And I'm just squeezing however you want to hold the bag. I can't hold it directly like I would normally pipe because you can't see it on camera. So anyway, just fill in the gaps, keep going, fill in wherever you want. You can mound this up a little bit, but I'm not going to. My clients don't like a whole lot of frosting on their cupcakes, so I've gotten into the habit of not adding a whole bunch. But since this is royal icing, and if you're using buttercream that's crusting, you want to add your top decoration before it crusts. Otherwise, you'll break the peaks. Now, let's show you. Dip my finger in a little bit of powdered sugar, and I'm knocking down the peaks. So, I mean, Elmo's not peaky. He's not like pointy peaks. He's just sort of shaggy. So I'm just gently knocking down the peaks without smushing the buttercream too much. And if you get a little bit of powdered sugar on there that's not incorporated, it's going to melt into it. Plus, I have the eyeballs that can cover it. So don't panic. You just cover it with something nice. So you want to get a couple of eyeballs that are even. These are weird. These look like boobies. What is up? So we can fix that too. I don't like these. This is a cheap kit, but. So if you don't like the eyeballs of your whatever brand I don't even know what brand this is. I like these for Cookie Monster, but I don't like these smaller ones. Hey, oh, I thought that it was pupilless. But we'll fix that dot too. So don't throw these away. We'll fix them. Do I like those? I don't know. Now I'm thinking I don't. But I think, yeah, those are the only size I have. So it's either super big or not. Now, Elmo, to me, doesn't have super big eyes. He has more typical size. I don't want to say normal because what's normal? So I want to get the two that are fairly similar. I'm going to get my black marker and I'm going to add to these because I want more of a pupil like these, but these are just too pointy. So I'm just going to add to it. If you don't like it, add to it. But do it before you put it on the cupcake or the cookie. And you just, okay, this is going brown. So I'm going to have to add a different brand to it. Of course, if I had black, I could put a dollop of black icing on it. But I just had these and that's fine. That's the maximum I can do for that. Here are my tweezers so you can see. Oopsie. No, I can't see that. This is a very nice fine tip marker. It does not go on brown, so it's the coating of the candy that's preventing it from getting black. So I'm just adding to the pupil size. Now, if you whoopsie, if you mess up, you squeeze it and your marker kind of goes out, you can just make the pupil bigger. Yeah, this marker's drying out, so go in the trash. And these I just get from Amazon. This has a much broader tip. Brush tip, and this is super black, which I like. All right, so don't add too much. You're going to melt it. And then Elmo will have super wonky eyes. Oh, come on. Don't squeeze too hard. Oh, you know what? I'm going to get my Chew mat. That is awesome sticky. I usually work on my self-cutting mat, self-healing cut mat, but not today so you could see what I'm doing because that's too busy and there's too much going on. Turn them around, more surface, and then just paint your area bigger. I could also do this with a paintbrush just for food and gel. The super black would be nice, but again, be careful you don't add too much moisture to this candy because you can melt the candy, even as hard as these weird things are. So, got a little fleck, so I'm going to do another one. And if you run out of eyeballs and your pupils are all wonky, just add some black to it. Don't throw them out, because we're frugal here. Why can't I hold this one? That's weird. Like all of a sudden my fingers don't work. And then just go around till you're happy with the pupil. That's weird. We have some jacked up Elmo. Hopped up on something. All right, so I'm gonna stop there. Oh my God, trash. So you add your eyeballs. I'm going to put the little bit of a black marker down into the icing, because you want to bury these a good bit. Okay, can't hold it. Get my other tweezers. These are sprinkle tweezers, but it's just the nature of the candy. Can't hold on to them. So you pop it down in. I like to make them stick up a wee bit, because it gives them a bit of character. Woo! Don't panic. Because Elmo is kind of a little crazy looking dude, I think. He's a little weird, but I like weird. So let's look at these here sprinkles. My idea for a sprinkle. When you're desperate, you got to do what you got to do. Now, if I was super desperate and I didn't have any modeling chocolate or fondant, I could take some sprinkle that's just round and I could use it for his nose. But the scale is off a little bit, so this is a nicer size, relatively speaking. However, it has the orange slice sections on it. So I'm going to use a quick bit of modeling chocolate fondant because I happen to have it in the color I need, which is a bright orange. I have a whole rainbow of colors, a whole spectrum that I have a constant stash of. So we'll see. This is really hard, so I'm going to have to microwave it. This is modeling chocolate and tropical fondant by Satin Ice. I always mix it. Let me backtrack. I seldom don't mix it. Most of the time, that's a double negative. Most of the time I mix it because I like the way both of them work with each other for most of my applications. What does that mean? The fondant, the tropical fondant is by Satin Ice, specially formulated for humid conditions. And it combats all the humidity and the moisture in the air, no matter what season you're in. So it helps the modeling chocolate. It has tropical fondant by Satin Ice and the modeling chocolate by Satin Ice work in concert with each other for the benefits of both. Modeling chocolate helps the tropical fondant not elephant skin, and you can see some of the cocoa butters separating because of the heat of my hand and the microwave to warm it up. But I'm just kneading this while I'm talking because I have to be doing something. So where was I? The benefits of both products help each other. The modeling chocolate helps the tropical fondant last longer with the flexibility and doesn't elephant skin as fast. And you can fix that too because modeling chocolate likes heat. So when you thoroughly mix the two together, the benefits of both help each other. Using an amount. And to me, his nose is not perfectly round. So I just roll it into a ball and then you squish it. I happened to get it right the first time. So what do you know? And then just pop it in between the two. And there he is. Cute, right? Squash it down if you want. So this is a star tip. This is a cupcake, obviously. I'm going to do the same thing for the cookie. And pretend this is a sugar cookie that's flat and has a shape or is just round. This will work on an oblong, a square, a round, whatever you want. You can just make the shape with your scribe. You can scratch it into it or use an edible marker and make the oval. To me, well, it could be round. But if you're using a square cookie, you can make a square Elmo head, but most of the time he's round. That's more recognizable. So again, actually this is a bigger scale. I could change to a bigger tip, but I'm just going to use the same tip. Now this was for something else, but I had them and I wanted to use them because it has pink glitter on it and I'm using it. So I don't mind that this surface is lumpy. This is going to give me great texture for Elmo's head, which on the cupcake was more flat, but this gives me a lot more interest. So you could pick his face, the eye area, the nose area could sit higher. The mouth area, which we're not making, could sit, because you kind of can't see his mouth when he closes his mouth. When he closes his mouth, he talks a lot. So I'm not adding a mouth. You certainly can add a bit of black frosting, either buttercream or royal icing, depending what you're doing, in a half circle, or a piece of fondant or modeling chocolate in black to make the mouth, if he's like a happy, laughing sort of a face. And then I'm just piping slightly bigger stars than what I did before. The great thing about the star tips is that the more you push, the more will come out, obviously, the bigger the star. However, the risk is you lose that shape. So for the 13 and 14 size tips, you're not squeezing very much because you're going to get a blob. If you don't move your hand away fairly quickly, you're going to lose the shape of the star and the texture that you wanted. So I'm just typing an amount, not being too particular, which is why I love these characters and this technique and the tips. And this is a really great kids project because it's kind of hard to mess this up. And whatever they do, it doesn't matter because they're going to be super happy about it and proud of it. And it's going to look great. And that's the important part, that they love it. So there we go. You can add as much or as little as you want. Again, this is royal icing on a cookie. Not mad at it. Not even mad at it on a cupcake. So I'm going to set that aside and do my decoration. Now I've got to go for this is a little bit bigger cookie, so I could use the bigger eyes, but I'm not going to because I need them for my Cookie Monster. So again, pick two. Let's try. This is very fun. Spinning around. Oh, Lord. This is funny. Eyeballs I usually stick on with my finger, but I want you to be able to see what I'm doing. And he's a little weird. Oh, I got rid of my orange for a nose. So I double and triple bag it. So you can see I have to go through 3 bags to get to it. So that's okay. I just need a little bit. Well, actually a little bit more than the cupcake because it's a bigger scale and I don't want his nose to be lost. Like his eyes look like they kind of are. But it'll come together when we put the nose on. Then you recognize immediately who it is. Hopefully it's okay. And if it's too big, we'll just take some off. So again, I'm not going to mess around with it too much because the oils are separating. But you want to get it smooth. So I'm adding some pressure to get the wrinkles out. I'm squeezing pretty hard. And then just flatten it a little. It's kind of a potato shape. Is that even a thing? And you can have the point at the bottom. Whoopsie. There's too many wrinkles in it, so we're going to go this way. It's kind of a big nose. And then you press it down. There he is. It's a cookie. Now we'll do the blue. My favorite dude. You see these a lot. So I'm going to do the buttercream on the cupcake. Yeah. And then I'll do the royal icing on the cookie because that's what most people... I'm not eating the cookie. I'm going to eat the chocolate cupcake. So I'm using buttercream. My daughter's going to get the cookie. Cut a bit off. Oops, pop it back on. Just don't cut it over your project. And it's exactly the same. Now it's a bit bigger tip, so you're going to get less texture. If you're going to get a bigger star, number one, but you're going to get this is the buttercream. It's more surface quicker, and sometimes you get less texture depending on the consistency. So it's again squeeze, stop squeezing, pull up, squeeze, stop squeezing, really pull up, squeeze, stop squeezing, pull up, squeeze, stop squeezing, pull up. And you can always count if you're doing big 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Let me make sure you can see this. There are several ways to do this. There is no wrong way. Your consistency will be key here, depending on what you're going for. So it's very similar in texture, but you can see the difference. These are bigger stars, and these are smaller stars because he has a tighter texture. And, oh, actually, I forgot to put powdered sugar on my finger to smash these down. Now, you can wait for this to crust and then squish them, but the risk is you're pushing the tip of the point of the star down into it and it'll look crushed. Now, because he has fur, does that look like a messy kid? Yes. Is that what you want? Maybe. And you actually the buttercream, it's unceremonious, but you put powdered sugar on your finger to stop it from sticking. So I'll open this again, go back and do the Elmo. I'm pushing it down a bit more. Now I can't hide the powdered sugar, but it will, whoopsie, start to dissolve. So I'm not worried about having powdered sugar there. So this is crusted pretty good. Yeah, that was nice and stiff because it's already pretty crusted. So I'm not going to push it down too much because I'm going to crush. It's going to look like broken stars. That's not necessarily what you want. It could be. You can use it to your advantage if you're doing something that's highly textured and it doesn't matter. But this is what it does. So I'm going to get a fluffy brush and I'm going to brush this off. And I'm not going to touch the eyes because that's gel and that's going to get on your brush. And if you touch something else, of course, you're going to get black gel all over it. And that's not what I want right here. So you can take your brush and tamp down the points. If you missed a few or you didn't want to get too close or your finger's too big like mine, there you go. Now he looks more smooth but still textured. So wipe that off. I'm going to knock these down. So you can use your finger. If you don't trust the depth of your finger, you can dip this in powdered sugar and use a brush. That's it. Cute. Now I'm going to put the eyeballs. Oh, eye down. These are easier to hold. And then get a cookie mini cookie. This is a chocolate chip. One that's not broken. And you can stuff it down in his mouth. Nope, don't like that. So, these are too big for the amount of icing I put in here. Don't panic. Just break it off. You can cut it with a paring knife. I haven't had Chips Ahoy in 100 years. Why would I? I make my own. And then just carefully cut it roughly in half. And then just pop it in, and it looks like he's eating the cookie. Now, the whole cookie might be good for the bigger one, but we'll see. Again, this is royal icing, so I'm squeezing it down. Cut this off. Pop the tip back on. Pop it back on, and now I'm gonna do this one so you can see it. You can start from one half. You can start from the outside, go in, inside out, center out. It's totally up to you. I like to start from the center so that when I pipe close to it, it's not going to knock down the sharp sides of my tip, of my stars, sorry. That's, I tend to pipe in lines or concentric circles going outwards because sometimes the pressure, especially when I'm holding it like this, is not always reliable. But again, this is fast, so it's really, don't think about it too much. That was an air bubble. Don't think about it too much because this is very quick, and actually if you have littles, they're probably making it anyway, and this is not going to be precise, and it's okay. Your littles, they're just going to put the icing in their mouth. They barely get any on the cookie. The difference is, see, that one is wonky, but that's okay. I'm going to tamp it down with my brush. And this is royal icing, so you can tamp it down however you like, or with your finger, with your brush. Totally up to you. But again, if you're having littles make it, they're not going to care, and they'll be like, just give me the cookie. They'll make a few, and then they'll start eating them after the second or third one. Now we put our eyeballs in. I think I want them to go this way. Put them at an angle. And then put the cookie in the mouth. Cute. And there you go. The buttercream gave me, this is a bit looser. The buttercream gave me a nicer, more starred texture. This is, it just depends on how you want it to look. It's totally up to you. There's no wrong way to do sugar art. It's just a way. If you don't like it, scrape it off and do it again. But again, this is a very nice project to do with littles or for littles. And it's super quick and not very much hassle. So if you make these, please tag me. Okay, see you next week. Bye.